To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
After the Supreme Court's last term, it is painfully clear that an extreme ideology from far outside the mainstream has taken root in our judiciary. For decades, right-wing organizations and front groups have worked a scheme to prime, select, and place judges who would be obedient. Most importantly, the scheme has to protect itself and preserve the anonymity of its big donors. Citizens United was step one, and it unleashed a tidal wave of dark money into our elections. Dark money has also been unleashed on the judiciary. The right wing has spent over $500 million on its apparatus to select judges and bend the court to its will. Shady legal organizations and front groups are free to lobby the Supreme Court while keeping their donors absolutely secret. Meanwhile, the dark money-funded Federalist Society handpicked all three of Trump's nominees to the Supreme Court. So now we have a court that tramples precedent to deliver policy outcomes sought by far-right donors. We need to fix this broken system and disrupt the court capture scheme. Getting rid of dark money is a necessary first step, and my Disclose Act would get it done.
So, you know, Democrats have been trying very, very hard for a very long time now to, I don't know how to say it, undo the damage that's been done by Citizens United, which was Leonard Leo's wet dream of making bribery legal in America. And that is where we are. And so we've had H.R. 1 passed by the House. We have the Disclose Act in the Senate. That's Sheldon Whitehouse's bill to stop the purchasing of the judiciary, to stop the purchasing of elections, to stop the purchasing of policy. I mean, you have the Koch brothers. Everybody got to know who they were because they, were oil and gas, and they were climate change deniers. And they were, saying things like, putting words into Donald Trump's mouth about how windmills caused cancer and windmills kill birds and windmill power, and you won't have any power at night if you use solar power. Like we can't store, energy. We don't know how. It's just this is what the money wants, and so this is the situation that we get over and over and over again. And people sit there and they say, well, how is it possible that 98% of America wants background checks and we don't do background checks on semi-automatic weapons? How is it that 88% of Americans want Roe v. Wade to remain in place, and yet the Supreme Court goes ahead and overturns it? How is it that most Americans disagree with having the purchasing of their House member or their Senate their senator or their state legislators or their assemblyman be purchased by the Koch brothers or be handed pre-written pieces of legislation by the Koch brothers group called ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council. And the exchange is, here's the legislation that we want you to introduce and get passed, and in exchange, here's your check. How is that not bribery? How is that anything to do with a democracy? How is that anything to do with representing the will of the people, which clearly the majority of Americans understand what they want and what they need, what they have to have? But we can't get there from here, even though we are all in agreement about so many things because of the money. And now the money game just got ratcheted up. When Sheldon Whitehouse made that little ad there, okay, and put it on the YouTube, which was months ago, to tell you that there is legislation that could stop this, that there has been legislation that seeks to stop this. All that had been invested was $500 million, a half. And now we have a single donor who's just funded even more of this bribery to the tune of $1.6 billion. One single person, one single donor. It's Russia. It's an oligarchy. It's an autocracy. This explains so much to so many, and that's why everybody has to wrap their head around what the hell the real problem is. And, you could talk campaign finance reform, and it sounds like something, easy breezy, something, it is dark, dark money. It is a sinister plot to take away from America the right to self-govern, the ability to self-govern, and the idea that we can self-govern. That's what it's about. And that's what it's been about. And they take the long view of these things, and they work on these things for years and years and years and years and years, praying to God that the American people will not figure it out in time for an election where they could put a Democratic majority in both places, in the House and in the Senate, and also in the executive branch, to sign it so that this will stop. It's what they fear the most. And that's why there's voter suppression. And that's why there's, the climate denial. That's because of the Koch brothers. That's because that's what their interest is in. And the judiciary is all about, some very strange right-wing version, a very orthodox version of Catholicism. I don't want to live like a 90-year-old Catholic man, okay? It's not my thing. But this is who they are, and this is what they're funding. And you know something? When you sit there and you go, well, why is Joe Manchin not willing to, pass H.R. 1? Why is he the hold? Because he is, he's the holdup. The problem with getting H.R. 1, H.R. 1 passed the House early. It was the first bill that passed the House when we got the majority. And Joe Manchin refused to get down with it. He refused to even carve out an exception for the filibuster for civil rights. And this was a voting rights bill that also banned dark money, that also did something about this legalized bribery that was, told to us, we have to tolerate it in Citizens United, right? And so AOC kind of understood what was going on.
H.R. 1 is one of the most assertive bills that we have to tackle dark money in politics. And so there are two very key components in H.R. 1 in the For the People Act. One is a forceful and very strong provisions and laws to combat outright voter suppression. And these are proposals, and if passed, it would essentially preempt changes to state law. So it would protect people's actual right to vote. But the other aspect of this is that H.R. 1 stands up against lobbyists and dark money.
And in the other half of this clip, she will explain to you that she believes that Joe Manchin, the impediment to getting the Senate to vote on H.R. 1, did it because there was lots of money in it for him if they didn't pass it, if it didn't become law. And that's what's been his thing the whole time. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.